Greetings, good people, man. Hope everybody's having an excellent day today. Today is Tuesday, August 6th. There's a lot been going on in the world today. With the elections coming up, primaries, presidency, the news, local and international and national. It's a lot going on and a lot to be concerned about these days. But lately I've been more concerned about us as a people, our mental health, our mental standing as a people. As you know, my name is John Fisher of J.S. Fisher Co. We are a complimentary mental health care company, professionals. We deal with people who are trying to get their life in order. You know what I mean? Get their house in order. When I say house, it's a biblical scripture that talks about a house divided can never stand. And that house that I speak of and we deal with in our practice is this house that house us, the body, the mind. And this is individually most important thing we got. Without it, there's no us. So therefore, we deal with working on the mental stability, people, man, and helping to unify mind, unify the house, man, because like I say, a house divided against itself can never stand. Same way with a couple. How can two walk together lest they agree? These are the things we work on in our practice. And what I've been noticing that's been causing a lot of the disease within our community is this mind. I want you to know something though. And this is something I speak about with a lot of people I work with. I know half the time with everything that goes on in the world and what goes on in our life, time we think we crazy. We think we losing our cotton picking minds because the world is, it's kind of crazy when you view, especially if you're viewing it on the boob tube. That television tell you that it's chaos going on every time you walk outside of your door. It's chaos all over the world. You can't, nothing is safe. Your neighborhood is unsafe. Your job place is unsafe. Can't trust nobody. I'm here to tell you, it's not necessarily the truth though. There are a lot of great people in this world. There are a lot of good spirits, good souls here, enjoying this journey that we're all on, called life. There's a lot of good people out here, man. But if you don't experience it for yourself and come to this understanding for yourself, you probably would think the world is gone absolutely nuts. You know? But like I say, I'm here to let you know, you're not crazy. But there is a lot of programs in place to make you feel that way. Television, for one, it says it in its own name. Tell lies to your vision in order to program you, thus television. You watch it every day.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas. Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the
movies, on top of the music industry, and the message that most of our, R&B, it's a lot of sexual proclivity, I guess you would call it that. A lot of sexual overtones in all the music. A lot of heartbreak in all the music that we listen to. And believe it or not, it's not, you don't just hear that music haphazardly. There's a programming behind it. There are people that are in, the Bible say there are principality, spiritual wickedness in high places. There are people in high places that control a lot of this information that you receive through your ear and your eye gates. That would make you believe that everything is going to hell when it's not necessarily. There are programs intact and designed to make you not trust one another, to make you not trust society, to make you depend more on policing. There are programs intact to make you believe that you can't heal yourself mentally and physically. They'll make you believe that you have to go to a doctor or a psychiatrist or psychologist in order to feel human, or in order to feel sane. But I'm here to tell you that's really not the truth. You have all the resources you already need currently. Nothing you have to go get, nowhere you have to go get it from. You already possess it. Matter of fact, it came with your packaging. It came in the package already that you were born with. It's just, you have to believe that you have it. Let's think about this. We all went through what was called 12 years of slavery. From from first grade all the way up to 12th grade. And in that 12 years of slavery, you learned a lot of stuff. And believe it or not, most of the stuff that you learn is not true. Especially pertaining to history, especially pertaining to your mental health, especially pertaining to finances. Most of it were, you had sprinkles of truth in there, but it was, the jar had a sprinkle of truth, and it was filled up with a bunch of lie though. Bunch of lie. Bunch of fluff. In order to throw you off the path, in order to make you needy, in order to make you less independent, in order to make you put your faith and belief in something, in someone outside of you, in your family, in your community. It's like as if you need a magic potion, a magic pill. You need the doctor to tell you, you need the teacher to tell you, you need the alleged professionals to tell you things. When I'm here to tell you, I'm just a messenger personally. God gave me a message. The Creator gave me some information that I feel in my heart has been very beneficial in my life. I actually use what I speak on. All I'm doing is sharing. I'm not telling you what to do. Anything I say to you, I'd rather for you to research it. So I'm not telling you anything. And I am only sharing. Just sharing some things that I know to work with you, my people. Okay. Now, why do I say this? Why I speak about the 12 years of slavery? I speak about that because, I'm in conversation with a lot of people, man. In my practice and outside of my practice. And a lot of times I say things to people that I can look in their face and in their body language. There are nonverbal cues that I notice when I speak to them, and I can see the discomfort. Meaning, we have been programmed lies for so many years, that when we encounter the truth, it's stranger than fiction. You can't even believe it. You can't even believe it. Me telling somebody, you're not black. Do you know what that sound to people? You know what that sound like? When every television show, all these books you read, call you black. For me to say, we're not Africans. No knock to Africa. or any Africans. But for me to say, I'm not black, and this even hits home. I mean, it hits even close to me, even family who's known me all my life. For me to tell them, and I ain't black, no, I'm African. That sounds crazy to them. They would say, I lost my cotton picking mind. Like, who? I known them all this life. Yeah. If I ask, anytime I ask, who in my family came from Africa? If you can tell me, I'd like to know. Usually I get a big fat 0 because no one knows anybody that came from Africa, nor do they know the name of them, what part of Africa, which, Africa has 52 nation states, so just claiming to be African is kind of crazy because either you're Congolese, you're Sudanese, or you're something else. You're not necessarily African. But if I was to ask what part of Africa, or for you to feel uncomfortable by me saying not African, can you at least inform me as to which part of Africa and whom in our family came from there? Usually no one can. But I do hear this. My great-great-grandmother was Native American. My great-grandfather's mother was Native American. And my next question would be, how are you something they are not? You have a clue and some knowledge of the native in your family, yet you don't really claim that. But you more so claim African American or black. And when I say who in our family is from Africa, you have no clue. And if we are black, where do black people come from? Where is black land at? Usually no one knows those things, but you do know about the native in your side. But somehow there's some sort of block that stops you from making the correlation that how are you anything different than your ancestors? But I'll tell you where that block came in. The block came in your schooling. That block came in the movies we grew up watching. That's where the block came in, because usually you would see these images of Native Americans with long, stringy hair. And it's funny that on every movie that you're gonna ever watch, all the Native Americans, none of them are copper colored as the definition of what an American originally looked like. The copper, which speaks about the copper color races. None of the definitions talk. That's what the definition is, but none of the people you see in these movies, who they call Indian or Native American, look copper colored. Every time you see the movie, they all have this long, stringy hair, as if they had no other hairstyles. As if Native Americans has never had any other hairstyle but long, stringy hair. Don't you find that strange? That they constantly feed you the same stereotypical image in every movie you watch? That should be kind of strange, because even if you go to Africa, not one African look alike. I mean, there are Africans with long hair, there are Africans with short hair, there are Africans with curly hair, there's Africans with straight hair. Same way we go to South America. There are, or Mexico, there are Mexicans with short curly hair, kinky hair, long hair. I mean, different hair textures and different hairstyles. But they've given you a typical image of a Native American that's been etched in all our minds. So I would even hear people say that we mixed with Indian and Native American. Don't understand it. But let me take that back. I do understand it. I understand where it comes from. I will call them the programmers. The programmers, through their television programming, their music programming on the music stations we listen to, the radio stations. That's also a programming as well. The programming we got in our classrooms, because all teachers teach out of the same curriculums. You get it from the programming. And therefore, anything other than the programming causes discomfort. Or there's a clinical term also for this, and it's called truth disillusionment. Truth disillusionment. Truth disillusionment. What would that is that, you may ask? Well, just for you to see for yourself. Truth disillusionment refers to the emotional and psychological state experienced when a person realizes that a long-held belief, which they accepted as true, is actually false. For every time I speak about us not being black, or us not being African, or for every time I may speak about that, like Dan Calloway, when he first came out, and he would say slavery was told to us in reverse. Do you know how many people fought against that? Some people that started their whole YouTube and career on Pan-Africanism, us being Africans. Some people started careers on that, and they had to fight against any information that went against what they made a career of teaching. Some of our scholars, rather than be progressive and say, you know what, didn't look at that way. Maybe it's something I need to look into before they allow it to make them feel uncomfortable or feel as though they're being challenged. Because it's not just like with anything, truth expands, knowledge grows, people learn more. At one point in time, you may have been a beginning, a babe. If you're a Christian, you may at one point in time been a babe in Christ, unable to handle, as they would say, the true meat of the word. Meaning, it's a passage that say, them that are milk are unskillful in the word of righteousness, for they are babes. Meaning, Paul even said it. When I came on, he said, in one of his verses, he said, when I came amongst you, I declared to know nothing but Christ and him crucified, which meant what he was saying was, there are some other things I came to tell you, but when I noticed how you were profiting off of the word, and when I noticed how when I gave you some of the information, it offended you, or you took it the wrong way, I began to say, rather than me sit there, you know, they say only a fool will argue with a fool. Rather than me sit there and constantly argue, bickering back and forth with you about the truth, he said, I declare to know nothing amongst you but Christ and him crucified, meaning that you already know, that which you already know. Christ died, and he was crucified, and on the third day he rose. Which I'm sure, as for those of us who are on the true meat of the word, who can digest meat, babies can't digest meat, so we put them on milk. Meaning, those who are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast can only understand spiritual language or the true meat of the word. They can handle that information. Most people are babes in understanding, in wisdom. And when you bring something new to them, rather than be adult and say, that's a different concept. Maybe I need to look into that. Maybe I need to do a little extra research, step outside of my box, and prove it to be true or prove it to be a lie. Either or. But that is the adult, because the adult is the one that understands knowledge and wisdom is so expansive, I could never know it all. And life is a continuous learning process. Life is learning. That's all life is about, learning. Something new. Something new. Every day, every day. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't even know nothing existed outside of my neighborhood until I ventured outside of my neighborhood. Some people, if you're a wise person, if I'm speaking, that's who I'm really making this for. People who have the ability of the discernment. You understand, when I was a child, thought as a child. Now that I'm an adult, I think as an adult, and a lot of things I once believed when I was a child, I've added to that and realized that I didn't know much. And I learned more as I've grown in understanding and knowledge. That's just the process. That's just the process. But when you are rigid, meaning the most flexible in the system will be the only one to survive. Meaning if you're not flexible in your thinking, it's hard to grow. It's hard to improve. If you're not flexible, it's easy to suffer from truth disillusionment because you're not willing to accept new information. And along with truth disillusionment, it gets even deeper to the point where people may suffer from cognitive dissonance. But those who are wise will go through a process of cognitive re-evaluation, whereas you are flexible enough to understand what you know now can be improved upon. That's how it is. I'm a carpenter, and in my field, we once built one way, but one thing I learned through dealing with other experienced carpenters, there's many ways to accomplish the same goal, and some of the ways I learned was better than the methods I previously used. So I was able to adapt them into my my real world of knowledge. And so those who are willing to go through a cognitive reevaluation, which means refers to the process of reassessing and reinterpreting one's thoughts, beliefs, perception in the light of new information and evidence. Some people are willing to do that, which is the process of learning wisdom, gaining understanding. That is the process. Without that flexibility, mankind will probably be still living in the bush without the flexibility of mentality or mental to improve upon these things. Or, the European settlers would probably be still living in log cabins opposed to the houses we live in today if they didn't have this flexibility of mind. But most people nowadays are suffering from cognitive dissonance, which is a psychological theory that developed by a guy named Leon Fitzinger in the 50s. And what it meant was, it describes the psychological conflict experience when new truthful information challenges long-held false beliefs. Discomfort arises from inconsistencies between new truths and existing falsehood, where the individual may react in various ways to resolve this tension, which to me causes a fracture in the personality, meaning when a person is infighting, has this split mentality, what they're fighting with in their own mind, because something in the back of the mind, in the back of their mind may be telling them, something about this not right. But yet, or somebody else may be bringing them information that goes against what they believed all their life. Example of us in this country may stomp down so hard when somebody recently, conversation was brought up about Kamala Harris.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black. I didn't know she was black. I didn't know she was black.
Being African American or black.
Yes, because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a black woman in the White. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her black ancestry, since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person? They're dark-skinned, but they're known anthropologically as Indo-Aryans, I-N-D-O hyphen. But Aryans look exactly like Kamala Harris. They're swarthy, dark-haired, dark-eyed, and they're classified as Caucasian. So she's got a Caucasian mother, Caucasian dad. Where the hell does she come in being black?
When someone who has researched it a little bit more, who has done a little bit of background checking and find out that she's not African, nor is she black, nor does she even claim to be. Now, she may hang out. She may have went to a traditional black college, university. She may have done those things. That doesn't necessarily mean she's black, though. But can you see how if you in your own house bring this stuff, you might be one of the people looking at me like, you don't know what he's talking about. You may be one. If you're not, if you're like me, who's progressive enough to do my research, and you know what I'm talking about, meaning you've said the same thing to a family member or a friend or a colleague, and you've seen that you've gotten the same results I've gotten, where you see the frustration and disillusionment all in their face and personality. And some people even get violent enough to talk bad to you. Or us saying that, you know, our people were originally Republicans. I ain't talking about what we are today, but originally our people were Republicans. Somebody tell you, I'm a Democrat, but that's fine. It's still two wings of the same birds. Nothing to argue about, nothing to get all upset about. But it's just some different information. Or us saying that it doesn't even matter who you vote for. Be it Trump, be it Kamala Harris, it doesn't matter. Because your vote don't mean nothing. Oh, you still got to go out and vote. So what you saying, you're not going to vote? If you're a man of wisdom, you understand that the Electoral College makes that decision on the presidency, not the popular vote. Now, if you want to go out and just exercise your right to vote, just exercise, because that's all you're doing is exercising, it's not that it means nothing. And don't get mad at me for saying this, but do your research and come back to me. And you'll find the popular vote don't mean as much. Those who agree to me, say amen, amen. But this is the infighting that we have. A lot of times we're feeling as though we're depressed, meaning this infighting within our own mind, meaning we carry a truth about our finances that we were taught in high school, in 12 years, our 12 years of slavery. And somehow our communities are the poorest communities throughout the country. Somehow we only own less than 2% of the businesses in this whole country. Yet somehow we believe we understand finances. And we believe that, you know what, everything is fair. We just gotta pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and get about the business. It's harder for us to accept the truth, which is, it's a little bigger than us. And it's not this way just because we're not smart enough.
The FHA insured mortgages that resulted in the mass production of houses for suburban subdivisions built strictly for white people around the country. The wording in the HOLC contracts actually forbade properties from being sold to anyone who wasn't white. The FHA also created a new mortgage system, which made housing in the suburbs affordable, the same mortgage system that is used to this day. But black people were not granted access to these new affordable loans.
Number one way to build wealth in this country, the studies show, but data indicates black Americans are twice as likely to be denied for a home loan.
Nowadays, official redlining, where you literally would draw lines on a map, is outlawed. But what you find is that you have very similar racial disparities in mortgage lending. And so the mortgage lending process itself needs to be changed.
By 1910, African Americans owned around 16 million acres of land, much of it acquired through purchases and homesteading. But after years of violence, intimidation, and legal trickery, most of it was taken.
Number 1. Customer treatment or steering. Prospective homebuyers and homeowners rely on lending officers to make them aware of mortgage products, tell them what they qualify for, and help them navigate the mortgage process. But very often, Blacks and Latinos are not offered the same information that white home seekers receive. They are often not told about all mortgage products available, may be steered into FHA loans even though they qualify for conventional loans, be encouraged to apply online instead of being assisted through the process by a loan officer, or be offered more costly loan products than would be offered to similarly situated whites. A 2020 report found that Black Americans are charged more on average for mortgage interest payments, mortgage insurance premiums, and property taxes over the life of a typical loan. Number 2, denial based on race and ethnicity. Several recent reports on mortgage lending have found that lenders are denying mortgages to people of color at significantly higher rates than white applicants of similar financial standing. As the lending process becomes more automated, bias in algorithms is also being uncovered. A 2021 statistical analysis of over 2 million home mortgage applications looked at the impact of race while holding 17 other factors steady, so that prospective borrowers of color looked almost exactly the same on paper as the white applicants. And yet, lenders were 40% more likely to turn down Latino applicants for loans, 50% more likely to deny Asian and Pacific Islander applicants, 70% more likely to deny Native American applicants, and a staggering 80% more likely to reject Black applicants than their white counterparts.
Portion of the news with a new study pointing out the sad reality of racial discrimination here in Northeast Ohio. It finds when it comes to banks here, African Americans are denied loans more often than white applicants.
There is a disturbing reality coming to light when it comes to housing here in the United States.
Yeah, so we have a new ABC News investigation that has found that there are gaping racial disparities nationwide in terms of mortgage lending.
Tonight, more and more African-American homebuyers are hearing the word denied from lenders across Detroit.
In a recent study conducted by Redfin, it shows the disparity in Phoenix for the first quarter of 2020 of just 33% black home ownership compared to 70% home ownership for their white counterparts.
It's a part of American real estate that is immoral and racist. It's called whitewashing. It's a process where African Americans may get a higher value on their property when they remove themselves entirely from the selling process.
Because we don't dream big enough. I drove through the city today, and in St. Louis City, you see, if you're in the city part, or I'm not even gonna just say the city, wherever community predominantly looks like me and you, there are so many vacant houses all over the place. And most of the communities that look like me and you are made up of renters, as if we don't want to buy a house. None of us have the money to buy up the block. You drive through our communities, and there's a lot of businesses, but they may be franchised businesses, like commercial businesses like McDonald's, the fast food restaurants, franchises, Staples, Walmart, Target, Amazon's opening up warehouses all over the place, big warehouses all over the place. And they will hire us, meaning even in our community, a predominantly black-owned community, yet we own none of the major businesses in that community, meaning all these cars need gas. Most of the cars we drive, 90% need gas. Yet, if you're from St. Louis, I want you to chime in. And I want you to tell me where a black, let me change that. Where a native-owned gas station is that is owned by someone that look like me and you. Anywhere in St. Louis, period. Please inform me. Put it in the chat. Most of your stores, we own things like car washes, maybe a small car lot, maybe a barbecue joint, a soul food joint here and there, some resale washer and dryers somewhere. I drive down Martin Luther King, I see a few of those businesses, people that bought Amazon pallets and opened up a little spot for you to go in, but no major renovations are happening. No one's getting the big loans to knock down the community of all these vacant houses and come back and rebuild them. Even the guy that owned the 24-1, it's not of us. I can appreciate him not knocking him, but he opened up a movie store. He might as well open up a theater in our neighborhood. He could have just opened up a Blockbuster. That's about the equivalent of opening up Blockbuster today. Most of our people not going to the movies no more than they are buying VCR tapes and DVDs anymore. You walk through our communities, all you see is vacant lots and old stores that have been vacant since the community was once owned by other people and was thriving. Martin Luther King used to look like Delmar. But since the people that once lived there no longer live there, you just see the remnants of those old buildings. It's past glory. You see the big houses, but they're all mostly vacant. If you're driving down any block on the west side, Wellston, you see tons of vacant houses, man, on the street. In our neighborhoods, 80% are renters, not homeowners, as if we don't want to own a home. But there are, if you look up the study that was done about the housing market, you'll find We were shut out of a lot of, meaning we were redlined. We were blocked out of the income, the loans. You know what I mean? They was not loaning to us. And when they did loan to us, they were loans that were horrible loan packages. This is a study. I'm not gonna, this is something I want you to look up for yourself. So this will cause this infighting we got going on in our head and in our community, have a arguing over the little frivolous things, that really don't benefit us. And it'll make us think that we are less than, when we really need to realize that we are the power behind this country. We are the fuel that keeps this country going. Our effort, our energy is what this country rides on, except for they know that you are systematically shut out of a lot of things. And they are selective which one of us they do allow to get in there. And if you've noticed, out of all the sports athletes we got, rappers we got, most of our community should be beautiful. They should be beautified if people were putting back into those neighborhoods, building our schools. Do you think it's strange that not one person that looked like you or I own a hospital? You think we just don't care about our health? It's like my mother would say, systematic. It is really systematic. So you are not crazy. It's time for you to realize that you are not, and it's time for us to just accept the truth so that we can actually work towards making some solid changes. Now I understand that the truth is so unpleasant that we will continue to run with the lie, meaning not knocking anybody that has a job because jobs are what help keep this economy going. So I want you to think that I'm against jobs. But if you've been working the job 20 to 30 years, the average job anyway, you realize that it's always more month at the end of the money. You never have enough. And you be thinking like, man, why I can't get up? Why I can't reach the degree of success that I want? But working in the average job, you would never reach that degree of success you're probably looking for. So it's more comfortable to just stay in the job and stay in the position that you currently have. They even tell you, if you get to jumping jobs, you look like you don't have any stability. When on the flip side, that's just say they only do that to let you to say that you're not a good worker, because it's a possibility you won't stay here long term, meaning you are not even allowed to have a vision unless your vision is going to be starting from the bottom and working your way up to manager in that company. Meaning skip the fact that the person who owned that business had a dream to be a multi-millionaire and to be a business owner, and took the chance to say, I'm not going to be a worker today. I'm going to find a way to be a business owner so I can eventually be an investor who invests in businesses. And to have workers work for my posterity. It's this thing called leverage income. So say for instance, I own a barbershop. I work in the barbershop. If I work in the barbershop and I'm cutting hair, my income ratio is 1-to-1, meaning every day I'm not in that barbershop cutting hair, I'm unemployed. Every day I'm not there doing my job, I don't get paid. So my income ratio is 1-to-1. Now let's flip that around. If I'm the business owner who's opened that business up and I have 5 barbers or 10 barbers in there cutting hair, My income ratio, including myself, is 11-1. And if I decide not to even go in the shop today, there are still 10 people working for my posterity. That is just the concept. So, if all you may think about is yourself, then a job is okay. But if you ever have some visions of doing more for the people that you love, you may have to increase your vision. You might have to aim higher. So if you in this job, you've been stuck in this job, going day to day to day, and you feeling that you never have enough money, because in all honesty, while you working that same job, making $20, $25, $18 an hour, everything else around you is getting higher. Rent is getting higher because you don't want to be up because you're not a homeowner. Goods and services are getting higher every year. There's this thing called inflation that rises at least 4% every single year. So once you from my era, we used to be able to go to the store and spend a penny and get a piece of candy. Today, there's no such thing as a penny candy, a 2-cent candy, a 5-cent candy, a 10-cent candy. You gonna spend $1 or better for some candy. Some of the same candy we bought as kids for pennies and nickels. So the cost of living is going up 4% every year, yet the wages are not going up 4%, which in the union they would call that prevailing wages, meaning they try to keep the lowest, the first-term apprentice, the lowest on the totem pole, at least above water to survive. So they constantly, when I started in the union, we would get a first-term apprentice they'd pay them $12.58, and that was in 2000. Today, to keep up with the cost of living, a first-term apprentice in the union right now probably makes about $16, $17, $18 an hour as a first-term apprentice, just so they can keep up with the cost of living. So imagine that's how I would always gauge what you needed to survive, because that's what the union would do. They would pay the lowest on the totem pole, the bare minimum it would take to survive in our economy. And like I say, in 2000, it was $12.58. This is 2024. 24 years later, they're making roughly $17, $18 an hour as a first term. So imagine someone who's making $12, $10, $15 an hour. It's safe to say you're living way below what it takes to survive today. But you're probably wondering, why can't I get ahead? Why is everything so hard? I'm gonna take it back again. So if this conversation is being a little uncomfortable to you, or does it sound stranger than, if this truth I'm telling you sounds stranger than fiction, I'm just saying, there's a reason, because it's going against your programming, so it's hard to swallow. But nonetheless, it's truth, and just as this image you're seeing right here, it shows that it's comfortable. It's more comforting to continue in the lie, because when you step outside of that lie and start to try to walk in the truth, the society we live in, you get a blowback from the system. Same way like on the Matrix. Long as you was in the Matrix and just going along your day to day, you wasn't worried about the fact that you're getting kicked in the face every day, you was cool. But as soon as you stepped outside the Matrix, as soon as your face started hurting because you realize you've been getting kicked in the face and your face started hurting, and you wake up and try to stop it, you might get a little blowback. It might get a little uncomfortable to you. If you ain't noticed over the years, every time we had a so-called freedom fighter, somebody to come up and tell you these hard truths, like a Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, the Panthers, the MOVE movement, people like Fred Hampton, people that'll come and tell you the truth, something happens to them. Usually, the agents come and get them, come to try to shut them up so that so the masses can stay in their blissful sleep, can stay where it's comfortable at. But I do want you to know, you are not losing your mind. Things are not adding up, and they're meant to not add up. Things are. There is a program against you. As long as you want to not see it, you're going to be okay though. As long as you choose to look over it and stay in your blissful slumber, you'll be okay. But the moment, matter of fact, you can be okay. What they're going to do is to keep you in that blissful slumber. And when you know that you're losing your mind, because you have a conflict going on in your mind, meaning the truth is battling with the fiction. Something in your spirit knows the truth, but then that programming kick in and overrides it and keeps you believing the lie. And so in our country, instead of telling you to look inward for the truth, most cases, they want to medicate you. They want to make sure that you go see their professional. You need to go see the doctor. Don't get me wrong now, I break something that I can't readily fix, or my wife can't get together for me offhand, something I may need surgery for, because I was an adventurous child. I broke a lot of bones as a kid, and we had lost our people have lost the ability to help one another fix those things. So today we've been dumbed down so far that we have to run to the doctor. And I tell you another thing, whether this cognitive dissonance kick in. If you're from St. Louis and you're familiar with BJC. BJC started out as probably a couple square blocks in size. If you go there now, BJC and those affiliated with BJC are a small community. It's almost like 15 square blocks now, meaning the hospital has gotten that big. And logically thinking, now just follow me on this, all you logical thinkers. If people are getting healthier, then the hospital will more likely get smaller, because there wouldn't be a need for a lot of the things we have today. That if people were getting healthier, because people wouldn't need the hospital if they were healthier, or if people knew how to heal themselves better, you wouldn't need the hospital. It'd get smaller. So if 2 square blocks have turned to 10, 15 square blocks, and people are getting sicker, do I gotta finish that thought off? Or could you deduce where I'm heading with this? If the hospital is getting bigger and their infrastructure is constantly growing, and that means there are more sick people, and they're meeting the need of this, be able to service sick people. Would you agree? All right. Same way with the medication. So if if the medication was, how many people have been prescribed something from their doctor? Probably a lot, quite a few. How many times have you heard of a person going in there on medication, let's say diabetic medication? The evidence of being healed would be, one day you would go in there and they would say, you know what? The medication has worked excellent. You don't even need it no more. You no longer have diabetes. You're done. Or you're asthmatic? Hey, take this for a little while. And then one day you come in and they say, you know what? I ran some tests on you. You no longer need your inhaler no more. The medicine has worked. Most people who go on diabetic medication, or most of these medications, I don't care what it is, whether it's for high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Once you get on the medication, you probably gonna be a lifetime customer. You'll be on that medication perpetually. And matter of fact, you're probably gonna end up on even more medications because sometimes you need another medication to counteract the side effects from the first medication. And then maybe another one, a third one to counteract the side effects from that. So it's like you start out with one pill bottle, end up with 10, 20 pill bottles in your house. And there's no end in sight. You're more likely, when my stepmother, God bless her soul, she just passed recently. But she's diabetic. Of course, she was on medication for her diabetes, and you know, as a result of the type of food we eat in our society and the medication that they gave her, 1 or 2 pill medications turned into a pile of medications probably this big. Just 10, 20 pill bottles that she had to take routinely, which at a point it her kidneys end up failing, so she ended up on dialysis. So she was on dialysis until she passed, meaning she saw a doctor all the time, yet she never got off one of those pills, nor did she ever make it off dialysis before her untimely demise, before she passed and before she transitioned on. She never got off the medication. She stayed on it until she died. She stayed on the dialysis machine until she passed. As a result of the medication and the dialysis and all other things she was going through, she was rendered, she couldn't walk. She ended up in a wheelchair. From the wheelchair, she ended up losing the toe. From the toe, she ended up losing the foot. From the foot, she ended up losing the leg. Then on to the next. Just constantly, nothing that, with all the blocks and blocks, 10, 12, 15 square blocks of medical research and study, and it didn't help. I believe it's good for immediate, for something, when you need something that, some help immediately. Long term, I think you're a customer, you become a customer. And the hospital will pretty much just medicate you and make you comfortable. I don't think they're in the business of healing people, because healthy people cause people to lose jobs. Same way with corrections. If we as a people were to stop doing the crimes, committing the crimes committing the crimes that we commit, guess what would happen? They would have to close some prisons, which would cause people to lose jobs. They would have to fire and disband a lot of the police units that police our communities, the detectives. There might not be a need for all the FBI, the letter boys. Let me not even bring all their names up. So many of these letter boys, there may be with we changing the way we think and do things, there may have to be a reduction of those type of organizations, which in turn means people losing jobs. And then in this economy, it spells when people that don't look like us lose those jobs. Like if you remember the Great Depression, people they jumping off the roofs, jumping off buildings. It created a big problem. So, and we know that a lot of the people that police our community are not all healthy in the mind. I mean, you find that out every time you have an elected official running for a position. These are supposed to be wholesome folks. But somehow their opponent always find dirt, a bunch of dirt on them. So they're not as clean as they appear. So, do your own research. But if you don't want to, guess what? They got some medicine for you. They got a doctor to diagnose you. And most of us may need some of those selective serotonin uptake inhibitors. If you've heard of drugs like Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, Laxapro, Paxil. I'm not even gonna talk about the side effects of these, but you may need them. And if you believe that, like, I have a family member that is on anxiety meds. And I didn't say an anxiety pill. I say anxiety meds, meaning they're on a few meds for anxiety along with some other things. And if I were to say, you don't necessarily need those things. You don't necessarily need them. You have all the resources you need within you to fix the problem. You just have to come into the world of reality and be able to handle the truth of the matter, what's going on in this world. Once you accept and handle this truth, you can deal with it. You can make some changes that'll actually cause you to improve in your mental health. But a guy like myself, because I am not a doctor, so this is not medical advice or legal advice that I'm giving you or nothing. But so someone like myself saying that those things you don't necessarily need sounds stranger. That truth sounds strange. That truth sounds crazy to most. And then, if you remember back in the day, they used to have a place, they used to have this place right here. If if you're from St. Louis, you know what that place is right here. That's Malcolm Bliss. Used to be the mental hospital. Now, tell me, how many people, if you my age and older and was around when that place was thriving, because it was actually in operation before I was even born. If you know of this place, you tell me. I need somebody to put it in the comments. Send me a message or something. You tell me whoever graduated out of it. You tell me who do you know that have ever went to that, what they used to call the nut house or the crazy, the mental institution. You tell me how many people you know that went to this mental institution for a small spell to get some help and eventually graduated out of it and they were walking around just fine. I'll wait on that. But I'm not gonna wait too long because I know the answer to it. I know the answer. I used to go to school right next to this place before they closed it down. And if you noticed in the first picture, it was humongous. It was humongous. And I knew a few people that family members of mine that end up in that place. And I'm gonna tell you, nobody I know graduated out of it. As a matter of fact, everybody that I ever knew went into that place, if you wasn't crazy. Some people I knew went in there because they were trying to beat cases. They had did some crimes and they was trying to play crazy so they can, go do a little time there and then get home and not have to suffer prison time. But for every person I know that went into institutions like this, no one graduated to health. No one was restored back to the original mental health. Nor did, of course, no one got better. You can't come out of there as a genius. I don't know no geniuses that came out the mental institution. Most of the people that have ever went in there, taking those drugs, going through those, whatever they go through in the mental institution, end up worse than they went in. And if you know anybody that graduated to become a genius or a scholar out of the mental institution, please let me know. That said, I'd like to thank you for the time. I'd like to thank you for listening. And if anything I said helped you in any way or rung a bell or added to you, please do me a favor. Hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button so the next time I drop some jewels, you will be able to receive them. Because I really hate throwing pearls away to swine. You know what I'm saying? If you're not into this type of information, you can bypass my page because this is for those who are on meat and can handle real information. Again, John Stone of JS Fisher Company. Follow us online. Go to the website, book a session if you need one, and let's heal our communities. Let's get real, and let's be real with ourselves. I'm out of here.